Arkansas boy with a lifelong plan took the oath like his old man, then turned around proud and shook his hand. L.A. kid stood right behind, took a deep breath and signed on the line. While tears streamed from his mama's eyes, they hopped right up on that Greyhound bus, swapping stories. They laughed and cussed, and they talked about the girls that they loved. They made a pact, shined up their boots, got the call before it hit the news. No clue what they were about to do. Hey y'all, it's Glenn. Welcome to the Finish This Fight podcast on this Wednesday, 3:30 Eastern time right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We also got somebody from someplace else. Y'all know that Finish This Fight, we are about the fighters. We are about the war bringers and the soldiers that expose the corruption in this country and don't just expose it sitting on a couch, actually get up and do something. And y'all, I just was introduced to a lady just recently that is doing just that. And she's doing it a long way away from where we are, but still part of the continental United States. And let me introduce you to Michelle Melendez. Michelle, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, aloha, Glenn. Mahalo so much for having me, and to all your listeners, mahalo and aloha.
Mahalo and aloha. I know a little bit about that. I only spent 3 weeks in Maui many years ago, and it was like a whole different world.
Yes, it was a lot different back then. My family's been on the Big Island for over 30 years, and I got here 5 years ago. And it's been quite the journey. It's been quite the journey. I'll say that.
Well, Michelle, you're a health and fitness expert. I can tell you've got that cut right here. I don't, but I have the square beard to help hide it. I wrestled in college at 126 pounds. I think I got to the point where my left leg weighed 126 pounds about a year ago, and so we're fixing all that. We're making some changes. The COVID fiasco pandemic thing kind of put a hurt on me for a little while. But anyway, you're a health and wellness expert, but you've also become a whistleblower here recently and just written a book called The Great Maui Land Grab. Is that correct?
Yep. Great Maui Land Grab. It's what caused the Maui fire and is your home next. It won 3rd place in the American Book Fest under true crime, because that is exactly what it is. It was an attack on Maui, on the Lahaina people, on the freedom-loving people. That is what LA was. That there people don't understand. There are weather wars happening right now. These floods in Texas, not by accident. This North Carolina flooding, the Myrtle Beach fire, all of it. You guys, there are the first weather modification. I'm sorry, the first weather patent was in 1891. 1891 was a patent to produce rain. They actually used that in the Vietnam War to stop the Viet Cong from getting equipment and soldiers. And the soldiers called it Operation Mud, but the official name was Operation Popeye. If they wanted these fires out, they could get them out very easily with this. And there has been, I've seen videos that have shown cloud seeding over Texas. So we are at war.
Well, you know what? Let's come back to all that in a minute, because that's a deep rabbit hole, and I want to be able to dig in around that. Let's talk a little bit about you. Michelle, what's your background? Where do you come from? What's going on with you?
Yeah, my first book is called End Dieting Hell: How to Find Peace in Your Body and Release the Weight. It won 4 awards, was a bestseller on Amazon. And I've been a fitness and wellness expert for 30 years. That's why when COVID happened, it got me for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I put the mask on. I was walking. I put the hand sanitizer on. I'm walking through Costco 2 weeks, and I'm going, hand sanitizer is poison for your microbiome, for your gut. It literally kills the good and the bad and the good bacteria. And you need good bacteria to stay healthy. And then the mask helps about as much as a chain link fenced against a mosquito. It's if you can smell things through the mask, it's not stopping a virus. So I was speaking out against it, and we protested every single week. I did a health summit, and nobody would rent me space because we had a mandate, which just lets you guys know governors have no place doing mandates. Mandates are suggestions. They are not laws. Governors cannot create a law. It has to go through legislation. So nobody would rent me a room. So I went to the beach, and we live streamed Peggy Hall and Dr. Mary Ruwert. And I showed people how every single year for the past 6 years, more people died of the regular flu than of COVID. And this was August 29th, 2020. And we did a 2-hour seminar. We had 30 people. We had a mandate of no more than 10 people could congregate, but we had 30 people at the beach. Cops came. Let's see here, 15 cop cars, 22 officers. And this was after. So 2 hours go by. We're finishing up. The cops come. They arrest 5 people. They arrested 5 people. And those people stood their ground that they did nothing wrong. And 6 months later, all charges got dropped because mandates are not laws. There was no law. So, and then from then I kept the fight going, protested every week for 6 months, took the Big Island police chief to the to the Big Island Police Commission, along with 5 of his officers who tried to tell us that we can't shop without a mask on. And the Big Island Police Commissioner said there's not enough evidence. But then 2 months later, the Big Island police chief retired. So he retired early. So we're just keep fighting. When the fires happened, I'll give it back to you for there, and then we can talk.
You know what, though? You're in the communist capital of the United States of America. I'm in the communist capital of Florida. I live in Broward County. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm late to the game, but my eyes were opened enough by the time this thing hit that I immediately knew. So in 2017, I was arrested. I spent 73 days in 2 different jails. The first 23 was not even allowed. An attorney didn't know why I was arrested. Eventually ended up in North Carolina, where I found out a former business partner had embezzled from a client that I'd given him when I sold him the company 3 years prior to that, but I lost everything. That was my eye-opening experience for me to realize this is not the country that I fought for. I'd always been one that thought, man, my country loves me. They got my best interest in mind. Not the truth at all. So my eyes were open, and I really began to study. I came back into music that in 2020 after being out for 19 years. That was my start date, was my first concert, March the 28th, 2020. Florida shut down March the 23rd, 2020. So I was in the middle of that. I actually had went to the gym on the 22nd. On the 23rd, I went to the gym, even though it was supposed to be locked down, and there was not a soul in sight. And when I say not a soul, this is a parking lot probably that hold 1,000 cars. There was nobody there. And I created a zombie apocalypse film right then, a movie on my phone, just making fun of it, saying, there is no way this is going to last more than a month, 30 days. The American people will be sick of it. And I've never been so wrong in my life, Michelle. Never been so wrong in my life. And it's I still see it here on a weekly, if not daily basis.
Yeah, here too. People are still wearing masks. And I think masks are an IQ test, because you don't understand the human body. If you're wearing a mask, your body needs to breathe fresh air. And you're really harming not just your immune system by wearing the mask, you're harming your nasal passages, your throat, and your teeth. So a lot of bad things, challenging health issues with mask wearing.
Absolutely. I quit flying, was not traveling at all, would drive through that whole thing. I wrote a song and music video called No New Normal. I thought that was going to go huge. They wouldn't play it anywhere in the US. It was too strong.
Right. And the censorship, that's the censorship. I'm still in YouTube probation. I've been in YouTube probation ever since October. Every time I get out, 2 to 3 days later, I get put back in. And so all my YouTube channels are not being monetized, and that's okay. Just keep going. That's all right.
Keep going and keep doing your thing. So I called the pandemic the greatest test of obedience that the world has ever seen. And I think that to be true. And obviously, I know a few people in Hawaii, and I knew it was bad. We've seen them arrested here through that whole thing on the beach. So we are in a society that's beyond my belief as a 57-year-old former Desert Storm warrior, thinking I fought for freedom. This is not freedom, and we're not in freedom at all now. You're helping expose some of that. Michelle, let's talk a little bit more about the fires. And if folks, I hope you'll remember, and has it been 2 years yet when this happened to Maui? It's not been quite that long.
Almost. August 8th will be 2 years. So it's 2 years and August 8th. A lot of things are going down. I'll share some images, but I just, right before our interview, I did an interview with the Hawaii State Representative of Lahaina. She told me that the tiny houses, the temporary houses that are housing the Lahaina survivors of the fire, 3 people have died there with no news reports. One is a 16-year-old boy that was found dead in his sleep. He died in his sleep. They don't know why. Another person was found. This person was decomposing, and they found this person in their tiny house. Again, this is a Lahaina fire survivor. These temporary homes that house these Lahaina fire survivors. The second person who was found, again, no cause of death, unknown. Cause of death is unknown. The third one that again died in the Lahaina fire survivor tiny houses that were built for them, died of natural causes, but no media report. There was also a fire that was one of the modules burned, no reporting on it. And the fire chief reported that this cause is unknown. They don't know why the fire happened. So all of this stuff is going on with no reporting for the survivors of the Lahaina fire. And it's amazing. But I do have a presentation, and I can show your listeners and what to see the absolute amazingness of their story. So the first one is the Tubbs fire. This is 2017. And what I want your guys to notice are the trees. Why is it no longer called a forest fire? Because forests are not burning. This is called a wildfire now, not a forest fire. The Tubbs fire in 2017, all the homes are white ash. White ash means really, really hot. And all the trees are still there. Their leaves are there. They're dried, but they're there. Paradise is the upper right. That's 2018. I actually went to Paradise. My mother's 20 minutes away. Look at all the trees. The whole entire forest is still there, but the module homes, these were actually a trailer park here, gone. White ash, gone. Nothing. Then you have Maui 2023. How in the world do palm fronds, palm trees stay standing when the home is white ash, completely gone? The car is destroyed with the engine block dissolved and all of the glass melted out. Glass melts, I believe it's 2,300 degrees. Of regular wildfire is 12 to 1,400 degrees. Right. So what's going on here? And I'll tell you what's going on in a second. And then the LA fire 2025, January 2025. Look at all the trees that are still there in this neighborhood. So what blows my mind is I was asking a 48-year arborist when I did an interview with him. I said, how do trees not burn? I said, it's a fire. How are they not burning? He said, Michelle, the chemistry of the fire does not recognize organic material. That is why the trees, if they're burning from the inside out. The water is burning. So if you put it, and this is a microwave frequency, and they have a laser generated plasma beam that is created by a titanium sapphire crystal for microwave frequency. So this is why, the glass melts. It goes really, really hot, and the trees are not burning. They're burning from the inside out, but that's not the way trees burn. Trees burn from the outside in. I do have images of bodies, but I'll give it back to you, Glenn, if you want to share anything around that.
Well, no, there's a couple of things that pop into my head. First of all, I didn't know that there was temporary housing or tiny home housing that was being made available for Lahaina people that were burned out. The last I'd heard is there was no support whatsoever, and that our government handed the check for $700. So somehow that got done, and that's a little bit encouraging. Where did that help come from?
Okay, so check this out. I think it's $3 billion that came down from the federal government. These homes, they could have given this money to the Lahaina fire survivors to rebuild their houses. But instead, they spent $400,000 a piece on these glass module homes. Each of these glass modules, temporary houses, cost $400,000. And Ellie Cochran, again, who's the state representative of Lahaina, I just interviewed her within the last hour. She said that she's been asking for receipts and invoices to see where the $3 billion from the federal government to help the Lahaina's fire survivors and to help Lahaina rebuild went. They're not giving her any receipts, any invoices, nothing. The state is either ignoring her completely, or, and she said in her own words, or lying.
That didn't happen to have a stamp like a USAID on it or anything like that, I don't suppose.
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Yeah, there's something along that line. USAID is only the tip of the iceberg of all this crap that's going on.
Absolutely.
Money being funneled from person to person to person to person before a little bit gets to where it's supposed to go. Saw recently from someone that it was one of the comptrollers, if you will, of USA, telling that was only at a max 5 to 10% of the money that was gone through USAID ever got to the final result. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. 90% of those billions and billions and billions of dollars funneled and just line people's pockets.
Well, and that's what's going on in Maui. It's all being laundered. I mean, when these tiny house modules, and not only that, but somebody here on my island, on the other side of the island, actually bid on to give module homes to Lahaina, and his bid was $40,000 a piece. Yeah. It was completely ignored. So $40,000 a piece to $400,000 a piece. Where is that?
Wasn't enough to line anybody's pockets.
I'm sorry, say that again, Glenn.
$40,000 wasn't enough left over to line anybody's pockets.
That's correct. That is correct.
Let's call it what it is.
And now these homes, they're having issues with the plumbing. The plumbing isn't going in the right direction. It's backing up into the houses. Again, like I said earlier, 2 people have died of unknown causes in their module home. A 16-year-old boy died in his sleep. They don't know why. A person was found dead. They don't know why. They're not saying why. And the news is not reporting it. In Maui news, Hawaii news now, not reporting it at all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that I also had that happen to me. My air conditioning drain decided to reverse directions today and dumped a bunch of water on my kitchen floor. So I've dealt with it on a small scale. You don't want your plumbing going the wrong direction, y'all. You don't want it.
Yeah, no, it's very dangerous. The other thing with the fire is, when this went down, I created an affidavit to the governor, because the first words out of the Hawaii governor's mouth were, I'm looking for ways for the state to acquire the land for workforce housing, was the first words out of this man's mouth after his constituents lost everything. They lost their homes. Some of them lost their lives. And he says, I'm looking for ways for the state to take your land now, is basically what he said, to acquire the land for workforce housing. So this is a complete land grab. They have only allowed, I believe it's a little over 300 permits. The very first year, year 1, 12 months, 0 permits were allowed or issued. Finally, 1 house was built. 14 months later, the whole entire Lahaina is gone. Like, all the rubbish is gone, and there's these gravel that's put on top of the foundation, and they said, oh, it's to keep the toxins from coming out. But what happens is they tell the homeowners, you have to remove the gravel. They're not telling them where to put it, and they tell them you have to pay for it. So it's, a lot of things went down with this fire that many people don't realize. Within 10 days, a $2.3 million dust screen, 12 feet high, was put around the entire perimeter of Lahaina.
Right.
Media was not allowed in for 30 days. Homeowners were not allowed back to their home for 90 days. If you tried to stop at any point to take pictures, cops would come and literally threaten you with arrest. The FAA I'm sorry, FFA said no fly zone over Lahaina, no drones, nothing. So, and there were checkpoints. There were checkpoints to get in after the homeowners were allowed back. There were checkpoints in order for people to make sure that it was the homeowner and not just any Joe Schmo to go in there. And when you go to the checkpoints, which I did with a couple friends of mine, the guards say no video, no pictures. Who are they to tell us what to do? It's freedom of speech, freedom of complete violation.
Well, this whole thing, first of all, I do know that Hawaii is already notoriously difficult when it comes from land to land transfers, even from owner to owner. Many people don't own their land. They rent it lease it for 99 years. And then there are some that do, but it's a different scenario there than it is in the continental United States. It's not the same thing. But number two, y'all, this is a daggum dystopian novel. And if you're not wise enough to see, and I mean see, that there's something fishy going on. You may not know exactly what it is, but you got to see this ain't right. This is not right. There's something being hidden. If you can't see that, I can't use the R word, but you're not really a brainiac. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's going on in front of us is just wrong. And there's ulterior motives and there's things being hidden from us, or they're trying to hide from us, and it's so big they can't. So then they just say, well, you're dumb. No, that's not how it works. But you can't go see it. Now, you can't shoot video of it. You can't record it. You can't make a photo. Michelle, it's beyond my belief that we are living in a country that's for 249 years stood for freedom that is falling to stuff like this. I would almost believe this happening in China. Mm-hmm. I can believe this happening in North Korea. Mm-hmm. Even in old Russia. I don't think I'd believe it in new Russia right now, but even in old Russia, I believe it. This is Hawaii. This is where people go to vacation.
Yeah.
Talk to me, girl. You've done some research. Yes. How the heck are they getting away with this?
That is a really good question. You know, Maui was set to be the first smart city, smart island in 2016. Japanese and Hawaiian stakeholders met with each other without legislation, and they said, yeah, Maui's going to be the first smart city. Lahaina, what people don't understand is that Lahaina was the capital of the Hawaiian Islands when King Kamehameha III was ruling over the islands. So Lahaina has a very special spot. I call it the heart of the islands. And with all the tourism, it really helped the state. And now it's, you know, they're not allowing, 0 permits have been issued for any business to rebuild. 0 permits for anybody's home on the coastline have been issued.
What is the reason that they're giving for that? People have got to be questioning that.
They're actually not giving. They are tight-lipped. They're not giving any. They're doing basically whatever they want to do. And the other thing is too is they tried to pass a bill. This is crazy. They tried to pass a bill where they took the entire west coast of Maui, and Lahaina is this little dot on the entire west coast of Maui, and they were going to take the entire west coast of Maui to rebuild Lahaina. They're going to take the entire west coast of Maui and take it out of Maui governance and give it to a 9-person board to govern this entire, like, what's up with that? So many people balked at that, and they didn't pass it. However, there's stuff that was in that bill that they are moving forward with. So, you know, this is a communist. I believe that we are in communism. And the other thing too, Glenn, I mean, the list is so long. The reason that I wrote the book, Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next, is because I wanted to document everything. I knew that if I didn't get this documented, I was interviewing so many experts. I interviewed a 33-year firefighter that literally said, Michelle, nothing about this fire is normal. Again, the 48-year arborist that showed how it's impossible for this to be a normal fire. I just had so much information that I wanted to document it before it was gone. Because I knew if I didn't document it, it would be gone and nobody would have it. So you have, you guys, the Maui Emergency Management Center has redacted names. So when you go to the Maui Emergency Management Center, you have to sign in that you were there, sign in when you leave, sign out when you leave. There's names that are crossed off. There's names that are blacked out. You can't even see it. The people that the fire investigators that investigated the fire, they spent 10 minutes congratulating themselves, patting themselves on the back of how great investigation there was around the Maui fire. And all their names are redacted. All their names are crossed off. You can't see who worked on the investigation. So all of that's in the book. People can get it at greatmauilandgrabbook.com, because what else is in the book? Let me tell you something. I went to my hometown is Chico, California, and Oroville, California. I have a girlfriend not aware at all about what's going on, and I gave her my book. 2 weeks later, after I left, a fire hits that area where I grew up, and she has to evacuate her whole family, because she has herself here, her parents here, her brothers and sisters, they all live in the area. All of them had to evacuate. And she calls me up. She says, Michelle, what's going on? I said, read chapter 10. Chapter 10 is Who Owns America? Who owns America is not the people. It has been taken over by the elite bankers, and it was taken over after the Civil War. People don't understand that the Civil War, North and South side of the Civil War, they were bankrupt. The government was bankrupt, and both the North and South sides got loans from the foreign bankers that they could not repay after the Civil War. So they collateralized the United States of America, gave it to the foreign bankers. That's why we are a United States corporation, and all of our agencies are corporatized. And then in 1933 was the Maternity Act, which literally turned everybody into a commodity that is now that is our birth certificate. And that is also traded on the stock market. So people don't understand this whole government is not what we think it is, but we do have power. We do have power still.
And you need to understand, folks that are listening to this, maybe you're hearing this for the first time, you need to get studied up on that. And do not sign your name to any kind of a corporate government document. You just went into contract with them when you do. And now they have power and authority over you because you've given them permission. You've legally given them permission. So that's a deep hole. We're going to take a quick break, Michelle. When we come back, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the communist takeover of Hawaii and how that happened. Now, you've been there long enough to know you probably have seen it, most of it. Let's talk about that, and then let's dig deep on the fires.
Okay.
We'll be right back in just a second. Folks, if you've been watching me for any time, whether on Finish This Fight podcast or when I've been interviewed over the course of the last 6 months, all around the country through whether it was Tim Pool, Culture War, or Real America's Voice, you know that I've got a mission on my mind. My music has a mission. My life has a mission. And my mission is finish this fight. And my goal has been for 3 years to help shine a light on our wounded veterans, especially the ones that have been paralyzed. And because there's not a lot of help for them. The VA, what they tend to do is they give the minimal amount of support to make someone mobile if they're paralyzed. That minimal amount is going to be a wheelchair. If you're amputee, it's going to be a prosthetic, and it's usually just the plastic one, the not plastic molded ones. There's so much more technology available out there than that right now, but the VA is not paying for it. So I've started a foundation, Finish This Fight Foundation, and I've got a young man named Joshua Holm. Joshua is going to be the first recipient in a week and a half, a week from this coming Monday. Joshua Holm will be in New York City with his wife and myself, and Travis Conover, the director of the film Finish This Fight, Diary of a Pissed Off American Soldier. And he's going to be fitted for his very own electric exoskeletons, AI-driven, self-balancing, no need for any canes. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. Take a look at this. Hey, y'all. It's Glenn from Finish This Fight. I want to share with you something right now that is deep in my life. This is Joshua Holm. Joshua served with honor in Iraq in 2003, but a mortar round explosion damaged him and wounded him from the chest down.
Joshua was wounded almost 19 years ago, and for the last several years, he spent his time in a wheelchair. But now, for the first time in several years, he's going to have the opportunity to stand up and walk again. On July 21st, he's going to New York City for an exoskeleton fitting that will change his life forever.
But y'all, he can't do it alone. The VA, unfortunately, is not paying for this technology. Total cost of one of these units is about $150,000. But right now, we're raising $15,000 to send him to New York in preparation for this journey that's going to be monumental for him. Imagine what it would feel like being stuck in that chair for years and finally being able to step and walk around.
You can be the reason that Joshua gets to walk again. Please donate today. Just click on the link and help Joshua finish this fight. Thank you so much for standing with him.
Y'all, this is such a big deal. Our goal at Finish This Fight is to put 100 wounded warriors, 100 paralyzed veterans in exoskeleton technology over the course of the next 18 months. I've got to raise $15 million to do that. But right now we're asking only for $15,000 to get this first leg of this journey in place. We've set up a GoFundMe. I've got a direct link. You can buy the movie. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. And if you will, go to givesendgo.com/finish this fight. And whatever's comfortable for you, $5, 500, 5,000, every dime of it's going to be used to help Joshua Holm take his first steps in about a week and a half. And I appreciate you more than you can possibly know. So, Michelle, that's near and dear to my heart. But I need to take the emotion off and come back to you, because what we're talking about, it's absolutely numbing to my mind that I live in a time and I live in a country that I fought for. I fought for the freedoms that we had all been told that we had, the liberty that was available to us. And it's not the complete truth. In fact, it's mostly lies. Talk to me about your perception of what's happened just in Hawaii. A lot of people haven't been, so they don't know. What's day-to-day Hawaii like now, and how's it different from the 30 years ago when you were there?
You know, the COVID changed everything, so many things around people living in fear. And also what blew my mind is people don't understand that Hawaii was taken over. The Queen at gunpoint was forced to sign and abdicate Hawaii Island, the Hawaii Kingdom. However, the Hawaiian Islands were not fully annexed as a state. So it's actually not a state. It's actually under military occupation by the U.S. government. And so, you know, we have our county councils and all of this stuff, the same things that the mainland has. But what's different here is that we also I do want to share too that Hawaii used to be absolutely 100% self-sustaining. They grew so much food. Now 90% of our food comes from ships. If the ships stop coming, we're screwed in like 3 weeks. It would get really scary here. The other thing that's happening is there's a lot of different insects and different things that have attacked farming. And that, you know, I personally feel some of it is bioweapons. We don't get the chemtrails like you guys do as bad. We still get them, but not as bad. I remember sitting at one of my favorite places on the Big Island, which is called the Peace Garden. And I saw a huge military plane, and I was sitting up high on the mountain, and I saw a huge military plane go right over what's called Manini Beach, which is right next to, called a Kealakekua Bay, beautiful bay. And it sprayed something right over Manini Beach and over the residential area, and then it flew away. This was a massive, huge military plane, and it was too fast for me to get my phone out. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So, you know, this is happening all over the world though. So it's a very interesting time, and I really feel that we do still have power, but only together. Only together. I started standtogetherhawaii.com, and we need to do more affidavits. We need to hold these people accountable for their actions. And that is the next thing that I'm going to be doing, is creating an affidavit. I already created it. I'm going to be sending it out, because what people don't realize now, what has happened, what has passed through legislation, through Hawaii legislation, and the governor signed off on it. They have created a biosecurity office in the Hawaii Agriculture Department. This gives them the ability to seize people's property, to take livestock, to take food without due process. It takes out due process. It completely violates so many parts of the Hawaii and the U.S. Constitution. And so we're going to be fighting against that. But it's quite the journey that we're in, Glenn.
Michelle, I want to point out some things, because I know we got over 1,000 people, 1,500 people watching right now live, maybe 2,000. It's only showing up on one platform. And people hear what you're saying, that, man, you're talking about bioweapons, possibly insects that were brought in to destroy the crops and that kind of thing. And it sounds a little far-fetched if you don't know what's going on, if you're not paying attention. But y'all, the information now is out there. Mm-hmm. And I've actually even seen it mainstream, well, semi-mainstream, in the last several months. Do y'all realize there have been 2, now maybe 3 Chinese scientists coming into the United States arrested for smuggling bioweapons? One of those weapons were insects.
Yeah. It's
not far-fetched if you're paying attention. It's absolutely taking place. And how many got through that never got caught? Those 2 or 3 got caught recently. Michelle, how many got through that never got caught?
The other thing is the mosquitoes. They're on Maui. They're actually releasing Wolbachia injected mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes are meant, the experiment is meant to stop the avian malaria. So they're saying, oh, the local birds are getting avian malaria from these mosquitoes, and so they're injecting these male mosquitoes with this Wolbachia bacteria that's supposed to keep them from being able to mate with the regular female mosquitoes. However, this is so crazy. These mosquitoes are coming from the mainland, and they're not testing to see if there's diseases in them already, if there's anything else that people need to be concerned about. I mean, you have to understand, when you come to the Hawaiian Islands, you have to sign a piece of paper saying you have no produce or anything in your luggage. When you leave to go to another island, your baggage is checked twice, first through regular security, then through an agriculture. If you bring an animal over, it's quarantined for 3 months, and you're paying up the wazoo for that. So they have now what's going on. I talked to a local who grew up here. His father was actually the mayor of a village back in the day. And he said, Michelle, we didn't have the beetles that are destroying the coffee. There's rust that's destroying coffee and avocado trees. There's they're fire ants, a lot of different things. So, but I do have some information too that I want to share through my presentation that'll show people about the weather wars and stuff that's going on. And you guys, I get that this is hard to believe. It's like, what is going on in this world? And I always tell people, my podcast, Blossom Inner Wellness, I always tell people, this world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. And this game that we're playing is just that. So I just wanted to show people, this is not how people die. This is not what a body looks like when it is burned to death. The far left, this was a person. You can see the braids in their hair. These are all in my book, Great Maui Land Grab book.com. Put Glenn in the coupon code, get 10% off. But look at the feet. Something was going on with the feet. Something was on the ground that was really, really hot. But the whole entire body is still recognizable. That is impossible in a regular fire. This toad was found in the Lahaina burn zone, completely hollowed out because everything liquid was melted or burned or whatever. But the body, the organic body, was still visible. That is impossible in a regular fire. Then there's these 2 pictures. This dogs and animals, they don't run in the middle of the road. They hide. They hide under cars. They hide under beds. This dog is running. Look at his paws. You can see it. He was running. Something happened very, very quickly. How in the world can you see ears and a nose and paw pads and fur on an animal that's burned to death? That is not normal. This is an image on the right of Texas many years ago, and I wish I wish I had done more pictures because the entire field was full of cows that looked like this.
Yeah.
And the world isn't ears, nose. The body is not burned up. That is impossible. And let me show you guys this. This is a patent for a microwave transmission using a laser generated plasma beam wave guide for microwave frequency. This is what they have. And I want to show you guys this as well, because this is what's really important, is up here. They have had, through Congress, they passed the Direct Energy Weapon Systems Acquisition Act of 2016 because the Department of Defense invested over $6 billion since the 1960s, and they were afraid that they weren't able to bring the whole direct energy weapons program to fruition. So Congress took it over, and people paying taxes, your tax dollars, went to finish this absolute atrocity against people. And the last thing I'll share, and then I'll give it back to you, Glenn, is this bill here. People need to understand this was a Weather Modification Act of 1976. Remember I said the first weather patent was in 1891? Well, in October 13th of 1976, Congress passed an act that is a review and analysis of research efforts and needs in weather modification technology. So this is what's going down right now. And people need to understand that these weather wars, Iran just happens to get a really big earthquake. And there was earthquake simulation technology. I'm sorry, a simulated earthquake patent. Two of them, I believe one was in the 70s and one was in the 80s. There's also a hurricane control patent that was, Bill Gates was a part of that. He was one of 13 scientists, and ABC called Bill Gates the hurricane tamer in 2009. So this technology is available, and in my view, they are using it against the American people and against the world.
Well, and the folks, y'all need to understand something. There's more to this than just conspiracy theories and rabbit holes. There's actual data, government data that's been grabbed by the act. What's the act where you can get what you want? I don't remember. I just went brain dead. But there's documentation that is out there. One of those classified, used to be classified, no longer classified documents is talking about Project Mockingbird and the CIA's involvement, not only the involvement, but probably the setup and management of Hollywood decades and decades and decades ago. Y'all, they've been telling us all this stuff in movies. They've been calling it fiction. You know, so the energy weapon that you're talking about, Michelle, in the science fiction movies was called a rail gun, or a ray gun, or just a laser gun. But it's been shown to us for decades that they've had this technology for a long time. Why is it far-fetched? Because they've desensitized us to the point where that can't be real. That can't be real. I saw it in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or whatever. Now we're seeing evidence that it is actually real. It is actually being used against us. And we've got this weird self-preservation reaction. If you don't know that you know, where you absolutely reject it. Michelle, one of those things that should show people that is absolutely true is the blue roofs. Let's talk about the blue roofs in line.
I skipped over that, but let's go back there because it's not just the blue roofs. It's a lot. It's a lot. So the blue things that didn't burn in Maui. First, this is thanks to Eric West. He is a Hawaii real estate agent on Maui. He went through the Maui burn zone, the Lahaina burn zone, the day after. So thank God for him. This blue ticket you see in the far upper left, he just saw a sliver of blue in the white ash. He goes over, picks it up, pulls it out. White ash is falling off of this piece of paper. And the only thing that is singed is right where the whale is, which is a little bit brown. And I'm going to tell you guys why or how this can happen. The second picture is these T-shirts. I think there were 6 T-shirts, cotton T-shirts he pulled out of the fire. You guys, no holes, no singe marks, Nothing.
Uh-huh.
The wooden stove right next to it is right next to that stove is a house that's completely gone, complete white ash. These tiles were shiny. Then you have the blue umbrellas. This stove, this one is from a friend of mine. The entire stove is gone. The glass is melted out, the warped racks, but inside is a beautiful royal blue color that looks like she just cleaned it. So the reason why this can happen is because of this this technology that they have, which again uses, this is a microwave transmission using a titanium sapphire. Sapphire is blue. So
Yeah.
what happens when you use a laser that has a blue frequency and a blue wavelength, if it hits anything that's blue, it repels it. It doesn't absorb the frequency because it's the same. That's why things aren't being destroyed. This is LA. This is LA, everyone. On the left, this is a Miata, completely gone. The engine is dissolved. All the glass melted. This Miata, exact same car, right across the street, directly across the street from the first one. But it's blue, including the blue trash can, completely fine. Then this one, this reporter, YouTube influencer said, oh, this blue label, I don't know what it is the only thing that survived the fire. The only thing. Everything else around it was destroyed. And then, of course, you have the blue van that was popular on. So a lot of reasons around that. This is also, I just wanted to show people this one too, because this first one is really mind-blowing. This is LA. Somebody sent me this picture from LA, and there's a hole through the tree. How is this possible?
Yeah.
A hole right directly through the tree. Okay, but the tree doesn't burn. The whole thing doesn't burn. It's just right through the tree. Then Tubbs fire. This is from the Sonoma County Channel 3 News, 2017. It's burning from the inside out. The bark is not on fire. Then Maui. This was a thumbnail on our own news channel that was on that channel for a very, very long time. The bark is not on fire. It's burning from the inside out.
Uh-huh.
That is, you guys, that's impossible. In a regular fire, that is absolutely impossible. The other thing I want to show quickly, well, I'll give it back to you, and then we can come back if you want to.
Well, and it's real simple, Michelle. I'm a country boy. I sing country music. I grew up in a town of 5,000, 8,000 people, northeast Oklahoma. I am not a rocket surgeon. That's not right. I'm not a rocket scientist or a rocket surgeon. But I did have one on last week, Dr. Yu, and he was talking about light frequencies and things like that, and how that blue sapphire frequency, when it would hit blue, would not interact because it was on the same frequency. And when you have a light or a sound wave that comes in a frequency that's different than what it's hitting, and that's where it starts generating, and it does it in an instant.
Yeah.
At unimaginable heat with that much energy. Folks, this is real. I mean, this is real.
And the thing people need to understand too is fire. When you have a fire, like down the street from me, there was a part of a building. The whole building didn't burn, just a part of it. And that's the other thing too. Buildings do not just get dissolved into their own footprint. No. They leave a stove, or like they did the stove or the refrigerator or the porcelain toilet. They don't just all disintegrate into white ash. This place down the street from me burned. It's all black. It's black soot. There's no white anywhere. There's black. There's still glass. It's not completely destroyed like this. So I do want people to know, I did create an affidavit of truth, and sent it to the Hawaii governor. And it's 17 reasons why there needs to be a third-party investigation around this. This is all in the book, greatmauilandgrabbook.com. Put Glenn in the coupon code and get 10% off. And then 10% also goes to Glenn to support his work. But this is what we can do. People go, oh, what can we do? Look, well, one, I'm just kind of going off topic, but it's not off topic. Look at your general plan, because what is going on in Maui is also coming on the Big Island through our Hawaii general plan, as far as taking property, taking livestock. So look at your general plan. Just go to your town or your county's general plan. And you can actually put it into chat GPT. Actually, I did this. I went to chat GPT and I said, what U.S. and Hawaii Constitution amendments are being violated by our Hawaii general plan, and it came up with a whole list of things and showed me where and why. So please look at your general plan, start going to your county council meetings and start speaking up, because these places have been attacked. They have violated, they've murdered people. We haven't even talked about the death count, and that's a total horrible topic. But what the power of the people is through together coming forward and saying no to through our county councils. We have to stand together around this.
Well, there is power. There's power in knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's got to be proper knowledge, though, not propaganda. It's power in knowledge. And what you're giving us today is powerful knowledge. I didn't see in your presentation pictures, but I did remember seeing in Hawaii as well as in California the photos of the neighborhoods that were destroyed. And if a house happened to have a blue roof, it stood. Mm-hmm. It didn't get hit. It didn't burn. How silly would I be if I went and bought paint and painted my tile roof blue? You know what? It's a thought. It's a thought. We are in a war.
People have actually done it here on the island after the fire. I was in a neighborhood and a guy was completely painting his whole house blue. And it's not by accident. And the thing is, people go, I've seen the lasers from the satellites. You guys, they can do this from drones, from a boat. It doesn't have to come from space. This technology can easily be done by a drone or a boat. And also, people need to realize that the first responders had to sign a non-disclosure. What tragedy has first responders signing a non-disclosure that they won't talk about what they see? Okay, that is right there. It says, it has you question a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, this is real. We are not ones that are going to throw out a bunch of fear porn. That's not what this is about. This is for your knowledge. This is actually happening. It's happening in the United States of America, of all places. This is not North Korea. This is not China. This is the U.S. of good old A. And we're in a battle. I wrote a song here a few years ago. It said there's a war going on that we cannot see. And it's happening all around us. Y'all, we are in war. We are actually in war, and you're in it right now. You may not feel like you are, because what you've been conditioned to believe what war is. We're not shooting at each other. There's not an enemy trying to take over where we can physically see them. But I guarantee you it's happening, and it's been happening for many, many years. We saw it culminate with COVID, and now we're seeing it where it's just coming out. They're not even hiding it anymore, Michelle. They're
not hiding anything. It's so blatant. It's so blatant. So, we just had and another topic too. I don't think I mentioned this one, or maybe I did at the beginning, is that Hawaii now has a biosecurity office in the Hawaii Ag Department, and which bypasses courts, which bypasses due process, and can take people's private property, take their livestock, take their food, all in the guise that there's an emergency, that there's an insect that's going to kill off people or soil or mold. So we're actually working on fighting this through affidavits. One thing that people need to understand is that we are living men and women under God, and we have unalienable rights that the government cannot take away unless we give them power to take it away. So we can stand against this, you guys. So I hope that people get the book, because it does talk about who owns America. It talks about climate change, smart cities revealed. It talks about and how people are fighting back, which is through Americans in action, through notices of liability, and through affidavits. So this is a turning point. We are at a turning point. They are trying to reset our society toward communism. And it's up to the people to decide, are we going to let them, or are we going to stand up for our freedom?
Yeah. Michelle, we're going to take a quick 90 seconds. I want to come back and I want to hear your final thoughts. From the chest down.
Joshua was wounded almost 19 years ago, and for the last several years, he spent his time in a wheelchair. But now, for the first time, In several years, he's going to have the opportunity to stand up and walk again. On July 21st, he's going to New York City for an exoskeleton fitting that will change his life forever.
But y'all, he can't do it alone. The VA, unfortunately, is not paying for this technology. Total cost of one of these units is about $150,000. But right now, we're raising $15,000 to send him to New York in preparation for this journey that's going to be monumental for him. Imagine what it would feel like being stuck in that chair for years and finally being able to step and walk around.
You can be the reason that Joshua gets to walk again. Please donate today. Just click on the link and help Joshua finish this fight. Thank you so much for standing with him.
Michelle Melendez, I appreciate you so much taking the time to be with me today. And you've shared some things with me that I didn't know. What are your final thoughts and what's next for you?
Final thoughts are just to share this truth, and also the fact that we're not alone, you guys. There is some type of spiritual war that's happening. I really feel this world is not what we think it is. You know, we're not meant to just be born and go to school, which is a total, that's a whole factory system, is the schooling system that was created by the Rockefellers. And then get all the things, the bells and whistles, the house, the boat, on all these cars. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to follow our intuition, our guided intuition, do what we love to do, and trust in this greater spirit. There is a frequency of love. And if we focus on that and not on fear, they want us to be afraid, because if we're afraid, we're easily controlled. But you stay in love, you follow your guided intuition, you trust in your higher power, and get off your phone once in a while, get into nature. And then I would be so appreciative if you shared my book, because it does give people so much information about what's happening. Put Glenn in the coupon code, get 10% off. And then Glenn also gets 10% to support his efforts in supporting these amazing veterans. So mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much for having me, and much aloha to all of you.
Y'all, the Great Maui Land Grab book.com. Go get it. Go get it. You know, you want to know more. You're intrigued. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're a little scared. Somebody might see you buying it. Who cares? Tell them to kiss your grits. I'm going to give them kiss my grits. You want to know the truth? Go get the book. Y'all, thanks for joining me on this episode of Finish This Fight. Tomorrow I won't be here. Tomorrow I've got to have stitches taken out of my eyeball. Y'all know I just had my second cornea transplant a few months ago, and that came from everything that I went through in 2017. You know the story. Still dealing with it. So tomorrow I'll be at the VA. Next week, we're going to have about 6 shows to make up for it. The following week, I'm going to be in New York City. And we're going to be sharing stuff live. We're going to share Joshua Holmes' first steps. In 2 weeks, you're going to get to see a young man, 41 years old, paralyzed from the chest down, stand up and walk around. This is Glenn. Finish This Fight. Uncle Glenn loves you. I'm going to see you on the other side.
Forward, ho, left, 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 right, your left, 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 right. Bound on,
Arkansas boy with a lifelong plan took the oath like his old man. Then turned around, proud, and shook his hand. L.A. kid stood right behind, took a deep breath and signed on the line. While tears streamed from his mama's eyes, they hopped right up on that Greyhound bus, swapping stories, they laughed and cussed. Then they talked about the girls that they loved. They made a pact, shined up their boots, got the call